alien sent from outer space, that's who I be. Sent with a message for the human race, that's who I be. I'm an alien sent from outer space, that's who I be.
Hey aliens, MJbaker here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in for another week. And for those of you all who are just jumping on the bandwagon of this show, I want you to know that I appreciate you as well. To this week, I am going to be doing the show by myself. I'm not going to have any guests. And I just wanted to do an episode to explain a little bit more deeply what the ALIENation is. Why do I call you guys aliens? And I do the acronym every week, but I wanted to take a moment to go more deeply into what the acronym means and where did it all birth from? Because obviously, an idea, a concept always is birthed through personal experience. So I wanted to share a little bit more of my story, and my hope is that you all can relate to it a little bit more, and we spread the word of the ALIENation and what it's about, because it's not just me calling people a very cute word that sounds a little weird. It really is me, wanting to begin a movement of people, of like minded people. And all right, here we go. I'm just going to tell you. So, it's not just me wanting to start it's not just me wanting to say some cute words to, make up and call people. It really was very purposeful. And literally, I was led by the spirit to start calling people aliens. And I didn't quite understand why, but I was just being obedient at that time. And for people who have been following me for years, they know that I have been calling them aliens, you know, practically since day one that I started being an independent singer songwriter. So, what is an alien? What does it mean? Where did it come from? What was the inspiration? So, first, I'm going to start off with my personal story, okay? Um, if you, growing up, I grew up the youngest of 14 kids. My dad, it was kind of like a Brady Bunch where, basically my mother had some kids, my dad had some kids, and they came together and gave birth to me. Hi, hello. And so, in that, growing up, being raised, my parents did not stay together. I was raised in a single parent household for the majority of my life. And being that way, my mother had specific goals for me, right? She wanted me to, you couldn't come in the house with less than A's and B's. You had to be involved in community, had to be involved in events, which those things really helped me grow up as a kid. Helped shaped, who I am today. But also a part of being in that household, and I'm sure some people can relate when you're being raised by a single parent, their expectations, they definitely want you to exceed them in every way. And there was a lot of pressure to succeed, to be the best, and to be number one. So I was put in a box. And if any of you all could relate to being put in a box where this is what you're going to do, this is what is expected of you, this is how you are going to, you're supposed to function and to operate. And me being put in that box, right? Because as soon as like I said, as soon as I came out the womb, expectations were put on me. So, if we can think back to being a kid, you know, There are some people who are very blessed to be in a household where their parents allow them to truly be themselves and to run amok and figure it out and, different things like that. But I'm sure a bunch of other of you guys, we were not given those privileges, right? So as soon as we came out of the womb, expectations were put on us that this is what you're going to do, this is how you're going to talk, this is how you're going to walk, this is what you're going to wear. And that's a lot of pressure for a kid. So growing up, now that I think about it, I did not grow up thinking that I had choices. I did not grow up thinking that I was capable of doing anything outside of the box that I was put in. And so, how does that translate to being an adult? Well, that made me a magnet, okay? That made me a magnet for toxic relationships, toxic people, codependency. It made me a magnet for obesity. It made me a magnet for over drinking. It made me a magnet for depression. And all of these things I didn't realize were compounding because I did not know who I was authentically as a person. And I did not begin walking out my walk of authenticity, drum roll please, until about 3 years ago. And so as I started walking out my journey in authenticity, my eyes started awakening and I started realizing, oh my goodness, some of the things that I'm doing, some of the things that I am attached to, some of the things, some of the people that I am associated with, this is not a healthy place for me to be. And as I started making those movements, I, as my eyes started becoming open to these things, I did not move very quickly. I actually moved very slow because number one, when you are used to living your life a certain way, when you are used to the box, and then like because it's not like the box is visible. The box is invisible, right? And it's like the matrix, right? You're going to take that red pill or the blue pill. The red pill, you can stay in the box. The blue pill, it's going to get you out the box. But beware, because if you take that blue pill and you see that box, honey, you got to get out the box. So the process, when I decided I'm going to take this blue pill, the process of getting out of the box was very, very challenging. It's very, very daunting because I had to walk away from friendships. I had to walk away from a relationship with a person that I thought I was going to marry. Not I, said the authentic MJ Baker, the authentic Megan Baker. No, 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 no. Girl, this is not what your life gonna look like. So, this is where the ALIENation was birthed, right? I mean, all those things that I had been walking through, this is where the ALIENation, the movement, it's not just a show, it's not just a word, but it is a movement. And I'm looking for people to join in who want to authentically live, intrinsically evolve naturally. And that is what ALIEN stands for: authentically living, intrinsically evolving naturally. And if you notice, everything is in action. That means it is progressive. And it definitely was progressive for my life. It definitely was not something that was easy for me. And I just want to implore you guys to do the same. And let's talk about what does authentically living, intrinsically evolving mean. So, being authentic, meaning being your truest self, and that can that can go on so many different levels. Being your authentic self, it has so many tentacles, because that could be your personality, from what you like to eat, your size, because everybody isn't meant to be. Let's talk about size. I mean, everybody is not meant to be a size 8 or a size 10. Some of us are just going to be in them size 16, 18s, and 20s, honey, and we're going to have to live that life, but live it healthy. You know, I'm a promoter of healthy eating, healthy living, but every once in a while, sometimes you just got to have a little something fried dip. I like me a sauce. All right, I'm getting off subject. So, living, what kind of life are we living? I can say for myself, I lived a very, very restricted life. Religion restricted me, low self esteem restricted me, my insecurities restricted me. Oh my God, my fears restricted me. Oh, depression restricted me. I thought that living out a certain role would get me everything that I wanted. But what I realize is, if we were made a certain way, because the Bible says that we he knit us, the creator knit us and formed us before we were even in our mother's womb. So we were spiritual beings created to have a earthly human experience. So we're spirit first, human second, right? And so what does that look like? Well, if innately I am goofy, I'm messy, meaning, I'm a I'm gonna have my things all over the place. That's innately me, right? Um, I like to wear certain types of clothes, and I like to look a certain type of way. If that is innately who I am, and I'm trying to be something else because of a box that I was put in, then I'm going to be miserable. And so that's why I go back to, I was not living. That we cannot be living if we are living out a life that is restrictive into what we think other people want us to be. If we're living out someone else's life, that is not living for us. We are actually zombies. We are actually living out the Walking Dead show. We are actually the Walking Dead when we are not living the life that we want to live, or that we should be living authentically. And then we have intrinsically, which means it just, what's in me comes out of me. Now, that too can be spiritual, because that too is spiritual. It's all spiritual. Because if you're wounded, if you're scarred, like my daddy issues, my mommy issues, all these things that occurred in my life, like, like, okay, so I'll share, like, when I was 10 years old, I came home and my dad had moved out. I come home and I said, well, Mom, where's Dad? And she's like, oh, your dad, he moved up the street, da 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 da. Now, she didn't explain to me why. She didn't say any of that. So just imagine, you're 10 years old, this man been with you every day, and then you come home and he's not there. and your mama won't explain why he's not there. So what did that do? That planted a seed of insecurity, abandonment issues, all types of things within me in that one moment, that one act. And so what it told me was something's wrong with me, and I need to become something else in order to be loved. And so what was intrinsically in me, I denied because I felt like, well, if I show people who I really am, if I show people that I'm really this goofy girl, if I show people that I'm very sensitive and empathic, if I show people that, side of me that doesn't wash dishes every day or whatever the case may be, then they're not going to love me. So let me put on this facade and this character and be this other person so that I can be received and so that I can be loved. And so what that did is it caused a barrier between me and true love. And when I say it called when I speak of true love, I'm not just speaking on romantic love. I am speaking from the perspective of true love of self, true love of people. It affected all of my relationships to the point where if I thought my friend I have a girlfriend who is very social. She goes out a lot. She likes to have a good time, but she loves people. She's a lover of people. I am a lover of people 50% of the time, right? So even so when she would call me and say, "Hey girl, let's go out, let's do this, do that," even though I didn't want to, I would do it because I thought if I say no to her, she's not going to want to be my friend. And it was the complete opposite. Because now I am able to be myself. And so if I get a phone call and she says, "Hey, let's go out," and I don't feel like going, and I'll be like, "Nah, girl, I ain't going to go. I don't feel like being around people, but hey, what you doing tomorrow? I'll come by your house." And, you know, I feel like our relationship as friends has gotten a lot better because I'm able to be more honest with her. And by me doing that, it opened the door for her to be more honest with me. So intrinsically being who we are is so important. And then evolve. So it's like once we learn, and you guys, I'm sharing this with you because these are things that I am learning constantly every day as I go. So once we are learned to be authentically ourselves and we're comfortable with that, then you really learn how to live your life that way because that's another step. You just don't authentically live. First, you got to be able to accept who you are, right? If you don't accept who you are, then nobody's going to accept you. Doesn't matter. But then learning how to, okay, now we're living. And then we're walking through intrinsically, just still learning how to accept because as you start walking through this process of authenticity, things are going to just start popping up. And you're just going to be like, oh, I didn't I didn't know that about myself. Just different things like for example, like my friends will always say, "Megan, like you could be a little mean sometimes." And I would be like, "What are you talking about?" I had a friend that said, "Megan, you could be a little selfish." And I thought, I am the most giving person in all of tarnation, right? But then when I started walking through this authenticity walk, when I started walking through it, and things started coming up, and people would ask me for things, and I would be like, "No, I don't want to give that right now," or "Nah, I don't feel like it," or No, and I started saying no a lot. But what I realized was I had to go back to that friend and I said, girl, I think you're right. I am selfish. But I'm okay with that. Because, and we'll talk about this in another episode, being selfish and self centered is an awesome place to be, you guys. It is a part of the process of embracing your true self. And that's a part of evolution. So evolution is growth. It is a you're constantly your evolution is literally you're going from one form to another. Same you're the same person. It's just like, it's just like a rose. Like when you're a seed, like if you plant a seed, like I'm planting some seeds right now, and Lord, they don't want to grow. But God, I just pray over them every morning. Y'all pray for my green thumb. My mama can grow anything. I really am attempting to do the same. Not anything. I just want to grow this bonsai plant, y'all. I just want to grow it. Pray for me. All right, let me get back. So when we are evolving, okay, so the bonsai plant seed is still the bonsai plant seed. It's still a bonsai plant, right? It's just a seed. And then when that seed starts growing, it grows into the plant, but it's still bonsai, right? The seed grows into the plant, but it's still the same thing. And it's the same with us. Like when we start walking through our processes and people around you who don't have a certain type of eye and who are just used to you being some one kind of way are going to call you selfish and rude and you're being mean and and all these different things, but that's just because they want you to be the same person that you were. And and what I've learned is like if I know that I'm standing in my truth on something and somebody says, well, you're being a bee about it, or why you gotta do, I say, you probably do perceive it that way. But it's okay. This is who I am. I mean, I'm learning to say, yep, this is who I am. And even if I do offend somebody and I know I offended them, and even in my apology, just, what, I apologize. That came out wrong. I shouldn't have said that. But I'm learning not to beat myself up about it. I'm learning to just be me. And once we have evolved, it's all natural. And the naturally part is kind of like summarizes all of this, which is, people always talk about eat natural, eat raw, veganism, all these different things. You know, um, they always talk about we should be consuming all of these natural things, but who is promoting for us to naturally heal ourselves from the inside out? And that's not with food, but that is with our mentality, that is with how we feel about ourselves, and it all starts with us. And that is the reason for this show. That is the reason for the ALIENation, is to start a movement with like minded people that want to explore life outside of the matrix, outside of the systematic way we were taught by our parents, by our pastors, by our preachers, by colonized religion, society, and the world. I want us to come together as a movement and as a community. And it doesn't matter, I don't care who you're sleeping with. I don't care. I mean, it doesn't matter who you're sleeping with. Doesn't matter who you choose to love. It doesn't matter your size. It doesn't matter your color. It doesn't matter any of that. The only thing that matters is the willingness to walk this walk of being who we truly are as spiritual human beings. I'm going to say that again. As spiritual human beings. And I ain't talking about religion when I say spiritual. I'm talking about knowing that you are a spiritual being first, that God is our creator. And I'll say all day, I believe in that. But it don't even matter what you believe. But just know that we are spiritual human beings first. That's the balance. Okay? Because we are spiritual beings living in a natural world. But some things that we are dealing with are spiritual. And next week, you guys are going to get to really hear that, because one of my mentors, Dr. Juno D. Ashley, is going to be on, and we are going to do a two-part series trauma, on trauma, on internalized trauma. And she is a definite expert on that. She has been my therapist and mentor for 13 years, you guys. And we I am virtually with her child every week. I don't miss a week unless I'm sick physically and I can't talk on the phone. So, she has been an amazing mentor for me, but also an amazing. So first, she's my therapist. Above all, she's my therapist first. But what I will say is, like I was stating before, when we realize that we are spiritual human beings, and that not everything that we are going through is a physical thing, that it is also a spiritual thing, because as a man thinketh, I did this episode already, as a man thinketh, so is he. So however I think is what I am going to attract in my life. And even to the point of when we get sick, it is not always a pill that's going to resolve it. Sometimes it is going to be a something we need to purge within ourselves spiritually. And so that's why I am, really excited for you guys to experience. The next two episodes are going to be with my therapist, and she's also a mentor to me, Dr. Juno D. Ashley. And she's really going to break down internalized trauma, trapped, which is or AKA trapped emotions. And I'm really excited for you all to experience that with me next week. So here's what I'm going to leave you guys with this week on the ALIENation show, is that if you are doing anything that doesn't feel good to you, now, I ain't telling nobody to go quit your jobs and your marriages, none of that. What I am saying is figure out why it doesn't feel good to you. Ask yourself the question, because these are the things that I had to do. And this is the point of the ALIENation, is that I want you guys to authentically live, intrinsically evolve naturally. Because what we think is freedom, it ain't freedom. If we are doing anything outside of what is truly us, it is not freedom. If we are in a relationship because, example, If you are with somebody because you don't like being by yourself, that's not freedom. If you are getting hungry and eating every 2 hours because really deep down on the inside, you are feeding your insecurities, your emotions, your inadequacies, that is not freedom. And authentically living, intrinsically evolving naturally, what the alien movement is saying is, let's get to the root of those issues so that when we eat, we really are eating because we're hungry and not because we're feeding emotions. Or when we go to the gym and work out, we're doing it because we love our bodies, not because we're trying to avoid something else. And that when we're in a relationship with someone, we sincerely love them, and because this is who we're aligned with, not because we don't like sleeping by ourselves or we don't like doing things by ourselves. It makes us feel kind of weird. And this is the point of this show, the point of the movement. And I hope that you guys really take this in, listen to it more than once. And if you want to get more involved in the ALIENation, reach out to me. The ALIENation show at gmail.com. And I love you guys so much. And I look forward to talking to you next week. Bye.
I'm an alien sent from outer space, that's who I be. Sent with a message for the human race, that's who I be. Different in every way, weird some would say, but really that's okay, because I'm happy with me, that's who I be.